Hi everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome to my channel. If you are brand new, welcome. Please subscribe to my channel down here and ring the bell with notifications so you know when I go live. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. And if you are a member, hey guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. And if you would like to become a member as well, you can click next to the subscribe button, join, and you can get all kinds of perks here at Without a Crystal Ball. Well, it's the last day of the year, and I think it would only be fitting to do a little doomsday prepping, doomsday culting, a story about a doomsday cult. So one of the things that you guys love on this channel is true crime. I know you love it. And I don't get to do it frequently because of the silly algorithms that are on YouTube. And it's one of my favorite topics, the complexities of stories. And there's lots of times true crime kind of overlaps with these offshoots of different faiths where people become so indoctrinated and brainwashed that they start to do really off the wall things as they are prepping for the end of the world or whatever it is that they believe in. And there's been a story that has been captivating the headlines across the United States for weeks, actually a couple weeks now. The news sort of broke about a week ago with a release from the Rexburg, Idaho Police Department in Idaho and a statement by the FBI looking for a couple kids that had not been seen since September. As the story started to open up and expand and sort of the layers began to be exposed, there was a lot of litter in the story that made it so off the wall, hard to believe, what are we even hearing, that I've been trying to find a way to put this together for you where we're not confusing, but then also making it so that it's interesting, right? There's so much, it's very confusing, but we're gonna just start from the beginning. Basically what we're looking at is there's these players that are in the story. So we have Tylee Ryan, which is the girl that is on your left, which is on the left hand of the screen, JJ Vallow, who is 7 years old. Tylee is 17. The woman is Lori Vallow. She's now Lori Daybell, and Chad Daybell on the end. He and Lori got married only in October, but the story gets weird from there. So Lori was married to Charles, and Charles was the adopted father of JJ. Got it? Tylee, her 17-year-old daughter, is from a previous relationship or marriage, and Tylee's father passed away suddenly in 2018, and it's not known whether or not that death is connected to this case. Lori Vallow and Charles were in the middle of a messy divorce, and in July, when Charles went to go pick up JJ from her home in Arizona, he and her brother Alex got into a fight, and according to the police reports, Alex killed Charles in self-defense. Although there's on the police report, it states that Charles may have hit Alex with a baseball bat before he died. Now, despite the fact that the death was suspicious, Charles' family and they claimed that it was in self-defense. Charles' family stated openly that it was murder, and they believed that Lori was at the center of his death. Cut to Chad. This is Chad and his longtime wife, Tammy. Chad and Tammy met when they were in college, and Chad was a member of the Mormon Church along with his wife. The two of them, they met while Chad was in college. Chad is a writer. He is a self-published writer. Now he works as a publisher for a self-publishing, small book publishing organization. And Chad got involved with an offshoot of a LDS organization. So he and a group of other Mormons started this other podcast and conference group that focused heavily on the preparation of the next coming of Christ. And as he got further and further into that, he apparently gets kicked out of the Mormon Church, being excommunicated. He also writes several books about near-death experiences, along with some fiction and nonfiction work. He works in a cemetery for a period of time and digs graves and is a caretaker of a cemetery system. He is utterly, if you watch, you can find him on YouTube talking about near-death experiences and a preoccupation with death. And suddenly, so Lori's husband, Charles, is killed by her brother in July. And Tammy suddenly passes away in October in her sleep at 49 years old. Chad and Tammy have been married for a long time, and they have a couple kids that are grown. So, how does this all play out? So, let's get back here. Are we all caught up here? Okay, so Tammy is dead in October. Charles has passed away in July. Now, Lori and Chad, they begin working together through this organization, all right? So they meet through their involvement in this group called Preparing a People Podcast Network. And Lori, begins featuring on podcasts that Chad is on as well. Chad is part of this organization. They put on conferences. They help people prep for the end of the world with Jesus Christ coming. And people say that as Lori gets more involved in this organization, her family claims it's been about 18 months that she's been involved. They call it a cult, and they say once she started getting involved with them, everything in her life starts fracturing, things start falling apart, and that's when her husband Charles winds up dead, and she develops a relationship with Chad. And shortly after Chad's wife suddenly passes away in her sleep at 49 years old, they discover 2 weeks after Lori and Chad are married. Yeah. Now, it was during the investigation of Tammy's passing that they discovered that Lori and Chad got married and that Lori had 2 children that were missing. Not even lying. So here is what the Rexburg police put out last week. They say the Rexburg Police Department and the Fairmont County Sheriff's Office, with the assistance of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, are investigating the possible connection between the death of a Fairmont County woman and 2 missing children. On October 19th, 2019, a family member found Tammy Daybell, 49, dead in her Fremont County home. At the time, Daybell's death was believed to be natural. Daybell had interned in Springville, Utah, so she was buried on October 22nd, 2019. However, subsequent investigations by the FCSO determined that the Daybell's death may be suspicious. So on December 11th, 2019, Daybell's remains were exhumed by the FCSO with the assistance of the Utah Office of the Medical Examiner, and an autopsy conducted. Okay. And then during the course of the death, on November 26, 2019, Rexburg PD attempted to conduct a welfare check on Joshua Vallow, an adopted 7-year-old special needs son of Lori Vallow, so he has autism, at their home in Rexburg, Idaho. And the welfare check was being conducted. An extended family member outside of Idaho had not been able to speak with Joshua since September and was concerned. Investigators from the RPD spoke with Lori and her new husband, Chad, who indicated Joshua was staying with a family friend in Arizona. Investigators left, but learned that later that day that Joshua had not been staying with friends as indicated by Vallow. Then on November 27th, 2019, they executed a search warrant at the location in Rexburg associated with Lori. And in an attempt to locate Joshua at that search warrant, as it was being executed, they determined that Lori and Chad vacated the residence, and left Rexburg. And our RPD then requested assistance from the FBI in locating Joshua. Further investigation has determined that Lori and Chad did not appear to have Joshua with them when they left Rexburg. Investigators also determined that Joshua last attended school at Kennedy Elementary in Rexburg on September 23rd, 2019. Additionally, investigators learned Lori Vallow had a 17-year-old daughter named Tylee, who was living with them in Rexburg, but has also not been seen since September 2019. Investigators have contacted several members of the children's extended family, and no one has been able to contact the children since September. Additionally, the children have not been reported missing to any law enforcement agencies, and attempts to obtain cooperation of Lori and Chad Daybell in locating the children have not been successful. So they say that the parents have not been helping them. They don't know where the kids are. The FBI puts out a missing and endangered bulletin, and this case sort of blows up and goes everywhere, right? Meanwhile, an attorney reaches, after this all falls out, an attorney for them, the Chad and Lori, says that they are loving and devoted parents, and they can't wait to share their side of the story, getting away from all of the rumors and the speculation. Well, what were the rumors and the speculation? Well, as everything was sort of falling apart, one of Lori's husband, her former husband that passed away, Charles, his sister took to Facebook to share and plead for any information to find JJ. And it was at this time that there was some cues into what were going on behind the scenes with them. And so at the same time, Kay Vallow, she wrote, "This is a story about my grandson, Joshua Jackson Vallow, born here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. My beloved brother Charles and his wife adopted him in 2013. He's a beautiful, intelligent 7-year-old with the biggest heart, most beautiful smile, and his life challenges of a level 2 boy with autism. Early intervention allowed him to flourish beyond all expectations. Lori was a wonderful and loving, attentive mother. Things started changing over the past 18 months when she began spending all of her time with a new religious group that we refer to as a cult. She eventually deserted my brother and JJ for 2.5 months early this year. Charles did his best to save the marriage, but of which she had no interest. On July 11th, 2019 in Chandler, Arizona, Charles went to Lori's home, which he paid for, to get JJ and take to school. She and her brother Alex were there. Alex shot Charles twice in the chest, killing him, claiming self-defense. 4 people were there that day: Lori, Alex, and these 2 missing children. Alex mysteriously passed away on 12/12, and these 2 children haven't been seen since September 23rd. Worse still, Lori, already remarried and the wife of the new husband, Chad, mysteriously died on October 19th in Rexburg, Idaho. I'm posting this and the articles related to the case, begging anyone who believes in justice to please share my post and help us shed light on what's going on." So she is begging people to come forward, and then there begins the speculation of what happened here. Did the kids see something? So on the day that Charles was, as Lori was saying, or as his sister was saying, she believes was murdered by Alex, did the children see something? Did they bear witness to a crime? And perhaps Lori believed that they were going to get her in trouble. And then as this case is heating up and they start looking for the kids, suddenly Alex, the person that kills her husband, Charles, her brother, is dead, suspiciously in Arizona. And police have not said like what his cause of death was. They have not released any information because it's an ongoing investigation. So now you have his wife, Tammy, dead, you have her husband dead, and then you have the person that's alleged to have killed her husband dead, and 2 missing kids. Whoa, what the heck is going on? Well, after that all comes out, another family member, or former family members of Lori's, comes out, who is named, he is the Brandon Boudreaux. He was married to Lori's family. She was married to his niece. He ended up speaking with Salt Lake City's Fox 13, and he said, "I spent the last 11 years of my life spending time with Lori and her now deceased husband, Charles. I don't know what happened to those kids, but I know that there's people who do, and they're not talking, and I love them both. I hope they're safe. They're both just innocent, and they didn't deserve to be involved in any of this." Boudreaux, he says, so I'll show you who this is. So this guy, he says that his ex-wife, who is Lori's niece, got involved in the same organization as Lori, and he said that things got crazy for him as well, and that he said that his wife and Lori got very ingrained into this cult. Okay. So during this interview, he says that this is a cult, that his Chad is known for writing books detailing the end of the world. He said that the organization's called Preparing a People Podcast. He said you can't be a member of the LDS and believe these things, in terms of whether or not he could still be a Mormon. He said, "I think it's an infatuation with the end of the world and an infatuation with power, and they're using it to try to make money off of people's beliefs." He said, do they consider themselves LDS? And he said, unfortunately, I think they do. It just makes you sad. A lot of people that I care about aren't here anymore because of their ideas. So he goes on to say that even his marriage ends up fracturing, and he says that there's an attempt on his life by what he believes is his ex-wife. And he says that there's like, he says that he's like walking around and people are shooting at him and he goes into hiding. He says, a couple of months ago, there was an attempt on my life. So I went into hiding with my kids. All I could think of was someone shooting at me. What do I need to do? I need to hit the gas and get out of here. And he asked if he didn't know who the shooter was. But he asked if, like, do you have any doubt if Chad and Lori are responsible for the deaths of their spouses? And he says, I'm just a person, so what do I know? But yeah, I mean, I just wonder why you couldn't just get divorced like normal people and just go be together if that's what you wanted. I don't know what they're doing. It doesn't make any sense. If I could say anything to them, I would just tell the truth, you know. You're going to figure it out eventually anyways. So he's coming forward, her niece's ex-husband's coming forward saying they're in a cult. Her husband's sister is coming forward saying they're in a cult. And then, like, they're still looking for the kids. They don't know where they are. Rexburg police and the FBI are trying to locate the kids. They have no idea where they are. Everyone thinks that all of these people involved think all of the deaths are connected and are likely related to Chad and Lori's belief in this end of the world thing. Like Brandon said, power and control and obsessions with the end of the world. And maybe the kids saw something. Well, the biggest problem now is that there's two kids that they have no idea where they are. A 7-year-old, JJ, who has level 2 autism, and a 17-year-old, Tylee, who have not been seen. She also has an older child, Cody, I think, or Colby, who has a YouTube channel, who made a video where he said that, like, even despite all of this stuff related to the cult, the family's continued focus is on the children. Well, the parents are not helping. And then today, earlier today, or this morning, last night, let me see. They released another press statement. It was actually yesterday. The Rexburg Police Department issued another scathing letter about the family, and it says the Rexburg Police Department and the Madison County, Idaho Prosecutor's Office want to thank everyone who has worked with us to find Joshua Vallow and Tylee Ryan since our press release on December 20th. The search for Joshua and Tylee is ongoing. We appreciate everyone who has brought attention to the situation by sharing information with our offices and social media. We are very grateful for the help, the FBI, and other resources. Finally, we are grateful for all of the media outlets who have shared press releases and stories relating to these missing children. We continue to welcome any information regarding the children's whereabouts. Since we first received the missing child's report on November 26th, our number one priority has been finding Joshua and Tylee. We have taken every step available to us, including executing multiple search warrants, interviewing multiple sources, and running down every lead we have found. We strongly believe that Joshua and Tylee's lives are in danger. We are aware that in the weeks after Tammy Daybell's death, Lori and Chad told witnesses that Lori's daughter had died a year before the death of her father, which is untrue. And around the same time, Chad told other witnesses that Lori had no minor children. Yikes. Many people have inquired as to why we have not filed charges yet in this case. Our primary concern at this point is simply locating Joshua and Tylee, and charging decisions will be made in due course based upon evidence available. If we find harm done to these children within our jurisdiction, we will prosecute whoever caused that harm. As stated in our previous press release, Lori Vallow Daybell, who is the adopted mother of Joshua, biological mother of Tylee, has completely refused to assist this investigation. We know that the children are not with Lori and Chad, and we also have information indicating that Lori knows either the location of the children or what happened to them. Despite having this knowledge, she has refused to work with law enforcement to help us resolve the matter. It is astonishing that rather than work with law enforcement to help us locate her own children, Lori Vallow has chosen instead to leave the state with her husband. We publicly call Lori Vallow, Daybell, and Chad to do the right thing and come forward with the information they have about the location and welfare of Joshua and Tylee. This entire investigation could have been avoided if Lori and Chad had simply been honest with law enforcement. We further continue to ask that anyone with any information regarding the location and welfare of Joshua and Tylee share the information with law enforcement. It's like astonishing. So that happens yesterday. Her kids are missing. She's told people that Tylee's been dead for a year. They say that's absolutely not true. Chad's found to tell people that she doesn't even have kids. They're begging her and him to tell them where the kids are. They're not cooperating. They only released a statement through attorneys stating that they're good parents and loving, devoted people. No one in the family can find these kids, not one. And the police are adamant that she knows where they are or what happened to them. With 2 dead spouses and a dead sibling, and Tylee's dad potentially being also collateral damage in this situation, is it hard to believe that maybe the kids also met that same fate? I think a lot of people like me are starting to really believe that those 2 children are not anywhere safe, that they somehow are deceased, and that Chad and Lori know exactly where the kids are, where they have been disposed of or buried, and perhaps are not willing to say where they are or don't want to confess to murders. But it's almost alarming that given the fact that the kids are missing, the authorities are just like, well, we're not going to do anything until we figure out where the kids are. How can you not? That's my, like, a 7-year-old is missing. Nobody has talked to him. Nobody has heard from him. You know that they're in danger. Why can't you bring her in charges on something? Why can't you interview her? Get her an arrest warrant? This part of it makes very little sense to me. I don't understand how the authorities are so sort of laissez-faire about it. They're not in the state, so at what point does the FBI then get involved? I know that the FBI issued the missing and endangered child, so when did they get involved and bring in the parents and say, you have to tell us where these kids are? And then if they can't find them, they have to assume that the kids are deceased. They have to. Or else they've been where else? What would the other alternative be? If they're not with family members, where else would they be? And they're not, and they believe that they're in danger. They've been gone since September 23rd. Nobody has seen them or talked to them in 3 months. None of this makes sense to me. How did this fly under the radar for such a long time? Why wasn't, if they were enrolled in public school, why wasn't the school reporting them missing? What's going on with the school? Did they withdraw them from school? Is that how they got away with this? I have so many questions, and none of them are being answered. These kids are missing. This poor 7-year-old is autistic. A 17-year-old is nowhere to be found. There's littered dead bodies behind these 2 that appear to have no murder investigations going on. Well, they're currently ongoing, but at some point there's going to be a determination made about Tammy that maybe it was a suspicious death, and they tie it to Chad. And does that when they start talking about where the kids are? But if Chad's denying that she has kids, and she's saying that her daughter died a year ago, wouldn't you think that the kids are somehow not alive? And oh God, sometimes I just hate the justice system, the slowness of it. And where are the mandated reporters that were in these children's lives? Why was nobody doing a welfare check for them in the community? I know they might have been new to the area, but if they were enrolled in school, the school would have had to report something. Did they not? They said that the report for the missing and endangerment came from family members from out of state that hadn't talked to them in 2 months. I don't understand how they got to this point. I don't know anything about law enforcement in Idaho, but I don't know if it's because they had transient and they had moved around so much, because they were originally from Arizona and now they're in Idaho. This all makes no sense to me. None of it. So we're going to follow this story because I am dumbfounded. The police are dumbfounded. The FBI is dumbfounded. And clearly, Lori and Chad know something. They're unwilling to cooperate. And somehow their belief system is a key part of the disappearance of these children. So if you're as confused as I am, leave me some comments below. What do you think happened? Where are these children? And if you want more content like this, please make sure that you consider donating to us through a super chat, because these types of videos will never be monetized, or consider becoming a member on the channel by joining, so we don't have to rely on AdSense, because these are the kinds of stories that I love to share because they are so confusing, complex, and heartbreaking, and missing children who don't have a voice need to be found, and they need to have people like us screaming to everyone, find these kids and penalize the people that did it, whatever happened to them. Someone needs to be held responsible for what happened to these kids, and I'm very worried that they're not alive. All right, you guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Where do you think the kids are? Why do you think they're not talking? Leave me a comment below. I will be back later with more, and we will follow this case as it develops out of Idaho. All right, you guys, bye.